This is Duke University.
Each quarter, Duke University, CFO Magazine, and some regional partners survey CFOs in the United States, Asia, Europe, and Latin America. This quarter, 1,143 CFOs responded to our survey, and we asked the CFOs to tell us about their own companies. Then we sum up what the CFOs in a given country or a given region of the world say, and that gives us a really good sense of where the economy's heading. So things are looking up a little bit this quarter. In the US, the Optimism index went up to 55 from 52, so it jumped a little bit. That's on a scale from 0 to 100. Long run average is about 58. So we're moving up towards the long run average, but not quite all the way there in the US. US CFOs think the economy, real economic growth of about 2% over the next year. So we're looking at moderate, decent economic growth over the next year. In Europe, things have gone up a little bit, but not as much, so maybe Europe's bottoming out, but still not so strong. In Asia, optimism is up a little bit, and particularly in China, we see quite optimistic CFOs. And optimism has jumped a bit in Japan also, probably in positive response to the new prime minister. But the most optimistic CFOs in the world are in Latin America, where on a scale from 0 to 100, they're at 69, so much higher than in the US. And that bodes well for Latin America. We ought to see a good 2013. We've heard quite a bit lately about the Japanese yen being depreciated and that making it easier for Japanese companies to sell their goods more cheaply, and likewise hurting perhaps United States companies trying to sell into Japan. So we wanted to ask CFOs, how do you feel about your currency today? And on balance, we found that CFOs in the United States and in Asia we're pretty happy with where the currencies for their countries are now. So we don't anticipate the business community clamoring for a much more depreciation of a given currency. Except in Latin America, more than 40% of CFOs say that they think their currency should be depreciated. Again, that makes their goods cheaper, makes it easier for them to sell, would lead to more growth. So that's a bit surprising given that Latin America already has quite a bit of growth on the horizon. In Europe, about 1 out of every 3 companies say they'd like to see the euro or other European currencies depreciate. That makes more sense because economic growth is quite slow there. A lower valued currency would help boost growth in Europe. So there are signs of some underlying fundamental strength in the US now. US CFOs say they plan to increase their number of employees by about 2%. And if that happens, that'd put quite a nice dent in the unemployment rate over the next year. Business spending up by over 5%, so kind of moderate growth in business spending. And 40% of US companies say they would like to make an acquisition in the coming year, and particularly in the manufacturing and the finance sectors. So that would mean buying an entire other company or perhaps part of the assets of a company. So that's up from what we've heard in past years, and that's higher than what we hear in other parts of the world. So it looks like mergers and acquisitions should be percolating nicely in the US this year. US businesses overwhelmingly would like to see a substantial change to immigration policy in the United States. Let me give you a little context. Over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've heard repeatedly from companies that they're unable to hire skilled employees. So they can't hire and retain skilled employees like they would like to. We heard this before the recession, during the middle of the recession when unemployment rate was 9%, and we're hearing it now still. So what could you do about that? Well, one thing the businesses would like to see is to have the US invite and allow highly skilled workers to stay in the United States and work, to fill this skills shortage that we've observed. Okay, so 88% of US businesses say they'd like a merit-based system where immigrants can come to the US based on their education or their skill set. More than 80% would like foreign undergraduate students who are studying math, science, technology in the United States to be able to stay on a work visa relatively easily after their college education. And about 80% would also like graduate students in the science and technology fields to be able to get a green card more easily and stay and work in the United States. So this would be a substantial change to immigration policy that the business community would like to see happen so that they can hire the skilled employees that some industries currently lack.
Very good. Anything else?